Good morning, this is Burnrate and welcome back to Democracy 3 as we continue to guide Canada into the distant future. So with great success and great control. The child labor law, of course we're going to criminalize child labor. What is this sickness? My clone children are growing up very quickly thanks to some genetic modifications, and they will live even longer than me. And I've been training them quite well in leadership, and I think I know which one will succeed me, and perhaps at the end of this term I will just have them quietly replace me when I again win the election. I really feel it is time for me to take a break, to enjoy my life, to enjoy my success, and know that I still am carrying this country into the future safely. And one of my clones will just replace me, and people will go on living and being happy and just not questioning. Our deficit has been decreasing generally. Very difficult to maintain a high GDP in this turbulent future. Debt protection law, of course, I'm going to continue to limit agency activity. Deficit lowering again. I think one of the things we can do is control alcohol consumption. And this will actually, again, liberal anger is unimportant. This will have a huge reduction in alcohol consumption, which will have a positive benefit on the GDP and productivity in general. We're going to apply these changes. You can see alcohol consumption, as it gets reduced, will have much lower effect on the lowering productivity of this country. So let's step forward and watch those changes take effect. A market meltdown, unfortunate difficulties. The economy is always difficult to judge. You can see this rapid drop in alcohol use. You can see your productivity hovering. This is going to go away soon. Legal drug consumption. Let's go to next turn. Software patents. We're going to allow software patents. I think this allows us better control of corporations and how they apply for them. We control the patents, and we'll control the software patents and control the corporations. This is also good for our GDP. We'll continue on forward. I think in this final term I do need to set a very good example of the strength and control for my clone children when they rule this country. As I step down, we can see alcohol consumption is just pretty much gone. Where is the effect on productivity? Over here. It's not even in the list anymore. Anything else we can do? I think with the effects on unemployment and the boosts in productivity, this is a no-brainer that we need to max that out. Capitalists will be unsatisfied, and has been for such a long time. But the high GDP may counter some of that as well. Let's move on to the next. Positive discrimination. Again, we can set the laws for positive discrimination and control how it's done, but at the same time we need to boost our GDP. I believe rejecting this law, and it doesn't make sense. You can see unemployment dropping, GDP rising again. Take a look at our deficit. It's still pretty high. I think we're heading in the right direction. Biohazard outbreak. Again, unfortunate. But we quickly responded. We still have an extraordinarily high health and population in general. Our GDP is still rising. Deficit is dropping. Speed limits. Of course, we'll raise speed limits. We have driverless anti-gravity cars. There must be more we can do to help with this, our GDP. Let's take a look at this. Again, capitalist anger. Reduction in foreign relations, international trade, but that keeps our economy competitive. Raises earnings. Just a slight reduction in approval, but I think overall this is going to be a good decision. Euthanasia. Incredibly cruel to keep people living in permanent pain. I think there is no requirement for someone to stay in a hospital. I mean, if you would like to die naturally, you may leave. But to literally kill someone, I think that's different. I think we're going to leave this law unchanged. We don't need to murder our own citizens. Our GDP is again climbing. We can see our deficit dropping steadily. Corrupt socialist, of course. Socialism. Look at our GDP skyrocketing. We can see our polls still hovering in the mid-90s. Deficit continuing to drop. Corporate manslaughter bill. Again, we're going to block this law. It is unenforceable. And I think the individuals need to be targeted as opposed to the corporations. My clone children are learning things well. Nuclear test ban treaty. Again, we're not going to sign this. We need to guard our country to protect ourselves. We can see our deficit is still shrinking. Our GDP is rising. Difficulties, biohazard outbreaks, probably due to the antibiotic-resistant bacteria that is brought in from international locations. Deficit continues to decrease. Ban animal testing. I think considering the one-child law, the safety of our individuals now is drastically improved, and the requirements for the safety of individuals in our country is drastically increased with the one-child law. We need control, and animal testing is just for the safety of individuals. I think it's something we're going to allow. Factory farming law. I think, yeah, we need to leave this law unchanged. Everyone cannot go to the store and get free-range, organic, grass-fed, all natural eggs or something. And we need to look out for corporate profits as well. The refugee crisis. I thought I dealt with these. I thought they knew that they were not welcome here. This is ridiculous. We need to send them back to export them. Our deficit is suffering because of it. We need a surplus. Again, we need to appoint a new UN ambassador that will support us and fight for us. Our deficit is low. It's hovering low. But there's some changes that we need to make. The state schools are important for control. The state housing, health service. Pensions are something we can reduce. The corporations can take care of that. It'll reduce a slight increase in poverty. I think I'm going to cancel that policy next turn. What is my max political capital? 49. Oh, this is unfortunate. I need one more. Due to my weak cabinet. What is wrong with you? Both of you. Law and order and public services. What do we have for some potential ministers? There's law and order, public services, conservative capitalists, law and order, capitalist farmers. Really no good options here. I think we'll just have to wait until they leave. People smuggling, deport them absolutely. Things are going well. We just need to get rid of that deficit a little bit. Where's our income? Expenditure, debt interest is almost 3 billion. We really need to reduce that deficit. Could perhaps reduce rail subsidies somewhat. It's gonna hurt the unemployment though, or perhaps in $1 billion. No, keep that stable. What we really need to do is cancel this, but we lack the political capital at this moment due to our weak cabinet. Upsetting as individuals. Well, in absence of canceling it, we can at least lower it to none. It'll still cost us 3 billion, but we won't see any of the benefits. It's unfortunate. I think I will wait to cancel it. State housing. Bring this down significantly. I think that'll be a good change here. Let's move forward. 3 turns left until the next election when my clone children take over. You see unemployment is extraordinarily low, crime is low, slight increase in poverty, but our deficit is very low now. Political capital is suffering due to these weak cabinet members. They're shameful. Landmine ban, of course. Disturbing. Landmines. Why is our GDP dropping? Is the global economy affecting us again? Of course it is. Increasing our deficit. I think if the global economy wasn't in such a poor state, our deficit would be a surplus. Not a problem. But all things considered, I don't want to leave my clone children with absolutely no challenge. I think we're in such a state of control that it's almost, some minor tweaking. Easy difficulties to overcome. The deficit will disappear. Can lower state health services, pensions. A lot of easy options here. Look at the deficit. We could also implement some taxes quite easily. Even some small ones. Like a junk food tax, automation tax, an airline tax. That'll bring in quite a significant amount of money. It does have a negative effect on the GDP. But we'll let them decide it. My children can step into my place. Their identical looks. I'm so glad I supported cloning. Because this is the only way I can see myself leaving office, by not actually leaving office. Well, now I'll step into the election, which I will obviously win. and I myself will retire and watch on as my clone children rule this country forever and forever into the unforeseen future. We will pull the rest of the world out of a dark age and make them more like us, with more control. I hope you enjoyed participating in my government and the work that we have done. Let us move to our last election and start the count, bask in the glory, and watch our clone children, or watch my clone children, rule this land. We even have a majority of the liberal vote. Ridiculous, violent people. Let's begin the next term. Continue on, and we will step off into the sunset. And remember, as always, stay safe. Watch those around you. Report on anything suspicious. And stay loyal.